Right. Hello, everybody. This is Open Caller, Spoilercast number two for Deadpool number two. And all right, let's just jump into it. My name is Michelle. I got Corey with me today, as always.
Well,
And well, most of the time, as
that one
as
time.
as 98% of the time. And like I said, we're going to be talking about Deadpool 2 today. So let's jump into it. So what did you think of the movie?
I enjoyed it. Um, to be honest, I did not enjoy it as much as the first one.
Agreed.
Um, my biggest gripes with it is that it is essentially the first one.
Which is like it's good and bad, right? It's
Yeah.
the first one was great and funny and everything. And so having a second version of that is fine. There's,
Mhm.
you're getting a lot of the same jokes told in a lot of the same ways. Uh, I personally thought the plot-ish, I guess, of the first one was better.
Mhm.
Um, but it's not like this one was bad, and it's not like this one wasn't funny because they were reusing jokes. They're
Right.
the whole the whole franchise is about poking fun at themselves,
Yeah,
and
and self
so
awareness
yeah,
and
so to continue doing that was good, and continuing to make fun of themselves and to make fun of sequels, to make fun of just to make fun of everything that the movie was. I think they did a really good job of that.
Mhm. Yeah, and
But yeah,
sometimes when it's hard to recapture lightning in a bottle, and yeah, in some instances when you're trying to, and I can say rehash because it's not really rehashing; it's just playing upon what worked the first time, but that it does sometimes squander everything you built up with like your originality and all that.
absolutely. I think that's a huge thing, is that it's when I went into it, I was like, I don't know what they're gonna do because of what they did in the first one.
Mhm.
They had all those same jokes and everything, and usually when stuff like that happens, I'm not the biggest fan of that. So just like in TV shows, when they realize that the fourth or fifth main character turns out to be a really big hit, and so they end up focusing on that character. Uh,
Urkel.
Urkel. I've recently been rewatching How I Met Your Mother, and when they start doubling down on Barney and
Yeah.
all that, I'm like, he was much better in smaller doses. And then all the episodes that were, basically focused on Barney, they weren't as funny because they tried to just take everything that people liked about Barney and make an entire show about it. Um, but I think Deadpool does it better than the rest.
Yeah. No, for sure. So what exactly did you like about the first one?
So the first one, I really liked the the way that it was just a different superhero movie.
Mhm.
I was I didn't know a lot about Deadpool's backstory that much, so a lot of it was pretty new, pretty fresh, and I love the fourth wall breaking, constant jokes about he knew he was making a movie, and he poking fun at different X-Men timelines, because that's a huge you know big mess anyway, um, and making budget jokes and superhero landing and all that kind of stuff. So I really like that because it was just really refreshing to see that. You just don't see it in any of the other movies. The the R-ratedness of it wasn't as big of a draw for me. um, I I don't know how much swearing adds to the movie, and I don't know how much stuff like that really doesn't make a
That
difference.
was always my gripe is that when they announced that they're making the original, it was oh, we're going hard R on it, like it's gonna be an R-rated movie, and everyone's like, oh, thank God, because you can't do the character without being R. And I'm thinking, how many Marvel comics are you reading with swearing in it?
I know that's the thing, and that
Like,
was go ahead.
no, I just said because that's something that you never do because it's geared towards children and kids and teenagers and stuff. You're not going to have anything. You might have the occasional dialogue bubble that's got like an F and then some random characters, but you're not going to have an F bomb or a shit or any of that stuff in it.
Exactly.
So how you can say you can't do the character justice unless that's a hard rated R?
And like, I mean, I don't know what constitutes requiring an R when it comes to violent, like bloodshed and guts and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And like that was fine. I was happy with the like the goriness of it. I
Mm-hmm.
guess the
Yeah, because they played
deaths
it up for comedic effect, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
The swearing, whatever. Like I Hello.
Hello.
That was weird.
Just cut all that out.
Not even. I feel like. Oops. Okay. Okay, I think I might just start over. Okay, I'm gonna make a new live stream. One sec. Okay, I'll send you a new link in a second. Maybe. All right, we're back. Sorry about that, everybody. Let's. Hello, we're back. Papa, can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
All right.
All right, so we'll just delve right into.
Yeah. Well, okay. So.
All right, so essentially, the plot. Well, for those uninitiated with Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds stars as a wise-cracking mercenary that. In the first one, he discovers he has cancer, so he signs up for a military program that was designed to, what he says, create superheroes, so to give people extraordinary abilities. So during the testing, his mutation gave him accelerated healing powers, but ultimately left him scarred over his entire body after the mutation took form. So that's the movie.
A bit of a gripe with that is like, as scarred as he still looks incredibly good. Like he's Ryan Reynolds, but they make a big fuss in the first one when right at the end when he's going to take his mask off for Vanessa, and like when he takes it off, he doesn't even look that much different. He just looks like
Ryan Reynolds with a shaved head.
Exactly, Ryan Reynolds with a shaved head and some like Mr. Burns mole. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not even that bad, but yeah, I feel like they could have deformed him a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah.
But they
give
wanted to
give us regular folk a fighting chance.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would lose to deformed Ryan Reynolds any day of the week.
All right, so at number 2, I guess this takes place 2 years later. I don't think it's ever really established.
No, it's
the movie itself is made. Yeah. So he's now a mercenary as Deadpool. So we The movie kicks off in similar fashion as the first one, where it starts off at some point, but then Deadpool, through fourth wall, tells you that the story actually starts at this point. Then we go back in time. I guess Wade's on a mission to take somebody out, but that guy takes off and locks himself in a panic room, and he just fails to kill him. Then he's reunited with his girlfriend Vanessa, and I guess they're celebrating their anniversary. And then that guy who he didn't kill comes back and inadvertently kills Vanessa when he's trying to take out Wade, and that starts his whole wanting to kill himself to be with her.
And so yeah, it's I I don't love Vanessa in the movie.
This one or in general?
In general, like in the first one too. It was really I was listening to another review, and they said pretty much nailed it, and it was just that Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool are much better when they are Deadpool and not as Wade in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to see Deadpool to see like the first one. It starts off with him being like, it's actually a romantic movie.
Yeah, and this one's touted as a family movie.
As a family movie, which they both are at the
the heart of it.
Yeah, the heart of it is it was a romantic movie, and and this one definitely was a family movie, but it's just when he's not Deadpooling, when he's not being a mercenary, like I don't think he's that fun. I don't think that's the movie that we came to see.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. There's very little of it. It's just that when it happens, it almost takes me away from
the first. The first act is mainly that, right? Because he blames himself for her death. He goes on this montage of trying to kill himself, and then I think through one of the attempts, Colossus finds him and then brings him back to the mansion, and he's just sulking the whole time.
Yeah, the attempt that after when Colossus finds him is where we start the movie off, when he's sitting on top of like 12 gallons of
he blows up his apartment.
Which also another thing, like how is the rest of the building not just decimated? Like, it looks like some stuff in the apartment is still
scorched.
Yeah, it's like scorched. It's burnt. It looks like there was a bad fire in that place. But
meanwhile, Deadpool's in like every
pieces.
Million different pieces.
Yeah. One more thing that'll play a bit of a role later on is the anniversary gifts that they give to each other are...
Because their first date was at an arcade and they play skeet ball, right? So she's got a token that she gifts him.
No, he
gives her.
He gives her the token from their first date, and she gives him this thing that he has no idea what it is. He thinks it's a bomb, but it's really her birth control, her IUD, so they can start having babies, and that is the plan. The plan is for them to start a family. Then guy from Panic Room comes in and
not
the movie
from Panic Room.
Just some guy comes in. Vanessa dies, and this is where we're left off. So then we pick up with Colossus getting the pieces of Deadpool somehow, picking up everything, and taking him back to the X-Men Manor.
What's never really established is that like he will lose a body part and it'll grow back.
I was just gonna say that.
If he's blown to pieces, what, you just put them back together and they fuse back together?
But what if you miss a piece? Does that part like heal the rest?
Right.
Around? Or like, is it just that, all right, whatever part has the most Deadpool, the most percentage of Deadpool is the thing that, the rest of him grows around?
Oh yeah, so like if you miss, so if you leave a leg somewhere, does that not turn into another Deadpool?
but the body and the head account for more of Deadpool, so the
Yeah.
legs grow on that. But yeah, in this one, it seemed like the head was over here, one
Yeah.
arm over here, torso, like everything got split up. So yeah, I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah. Is there a
They
shelf
they
life?
play they play pretty fast and loose with how he regenerates and like which parts kind of
And that never
regenerate.
never happened with Wolverine. I found in any of those movies. Like, he never lost an
Yeah, he
appendage
never
that grew
lost
back.
limbs though. That's the thing. He always, he got shot, he got stabbed, he got he got cut up and stuff, but he never fully lost any sort of limbs that had to grow back. Deadpool. It was the same in the first one. There was a lot of times where it was like,
Yeah, he cut his
um,
hand off, right, and then it
yeah, he cut his hand off, and
baby
then
hand.
the hand grew. Um, and all right, so now we are in the X-Men manor, and he's making more jokes about how it's still this huge ass manor, and he still only sees two
Yeah,
people.
Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead reprises her role.
um, she kind of sucks in this movie.
Yeah, she's really not given anything to
She's
do.
useless. Yeah. Um, I don't think she even in any of the. Oh, she does like one fight thing
Yeah,
sometime,
so
but
as a
she's
form of
pretty much there just to.
yeah, she's there really because they gave her a girlfriend in this one, so I guess it's to say, hey, look, there's gay characters in the Marvel movies
Yeah,
finally.
and then Colossus says, you're a hero. We'll turn you into a hero.
Yeah, the same kind of speech he gives him in the first one.
Yeah, 4 or 5
Yeah,
moments. You get to choose which direction you want to take, and um, but Deadpool decides that he wants to just sulk around the manor.
yeah, and his Crocs
Until,
and all
yeah,
that stuff.
until Colossus says something about family. You don't have a family, but we're here for you, something like that, and it brings him back to starting a family with
Yeah,
Vanessa, and that kind of, I guess, turns over a leaf for him. So they go out
yeah, he's
and
a X-Men in training now.
X-Men in training. He's got that like football penny
Yeah,
on. It's like, pretty good.
training on it. Yeah,
Yeah. And they are off to a orphanage style.
yeah, it's almost like one of those like conversion therapy places that you
Yeah.
hear about in like. Well, I don't want to say in the States, but you mostly hear about it in the States, like those
Yeah.
gay conversion places. So this is like a mutant re-education
Yeah,
center or
they're
something.
trying to unmutinize
Yeah,
the
I guess it's kind of like what to make your mutant powers like stagnant or something like
suppressed.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, suppress them.
And so this is where we meet
Russell.
Russell. Russell, who will also be known as Fire Fist. Um,
I
oh,
don't know
it's
about you, but I
yeah,
hated this kid.
yeah. He was super annoying. Um,
And I don't know if it's
I
because it's a kid in one of these movies, or it was a kid with an attitude, or it was a kid with an attitude and he was British. But just everything about him
because
rubbed
yeah,
me the
every
wrong
time
way.
he opened his mouth, I was like, kid,
Yeah.
chill. And he also, yeah, just I don't know, they didn't give him the best lines. All
No,
of
yeah,
his
everything seemed forced.
yeah, and all of his one-liners just didn't land. Um, and just everything he did was the worst. Like,
Did you ever see The Mummy Returns, the Brendan
uh,
Fraser one?
yeah, like a
Okay.
long time ago.
Every time you talk, it reminded me of like the kid in that movie that had the unjust like attitude towards like the villain, and he's just like,
Yes.
my dad's going to kick your ass.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, get out of here, kid. Like, what are you doing?
Just
Um,
like push him aside. But
yeah,
I hated Russell. That really like every scene he was in really took me out of
yeah.
the picture.
That was another thing with this movie is like it seemed like it didn't flow very well from scene to scene. It was like
Mhm.
really jarring when they did um, transitions. And not just because they didn't use a star wipe or something like that. Like it was just it really just it was really jarring to go from one scene to another, and it a lot of the times it didn't seem like it the previous scene had anything to do with the next scene.
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were talking about before, where it seems like they were trying to hit beats that they had in the first one, so everything kind of seemed forced. Like, oh, we had this last time, so we should go to something
Yeah.
like this, or we had this at this point, maybe we should go to that again here.
Um,
Because even
so
when they switched to cable, that seemed like it came out of nowhere.
yeah, that was the main thing. I'm like, wait, what's happening here? Like, is this now? Is this in the past? Is this in the future? Because
It almost
but
seems like they could have
it
done
was,
like
and it was all of those things.
like they could have done something like with Terminator, where you could have had like shown maybe the future at the beginning with Cable, and then have him go to the past, and then
Yeah,
do like the rest of the story. Kind of like kind of what they've done with some of the Marvel movies, where they have like or like let's say Guardians, like the second one, or even the first one, where
even the
they
first one.
have
Yeah.
like even in they have what's going on with Peter Quill when he was a kid. So this is taking place, and then you do like the opening credits, and then you cut to now. So they could have done Cable there, and then here's the Marvel Fox
Yeah.
logo, whatever, and then you go right into Deadpool's story.
Deadpool. Yeah. Um, but yeah, so Fire Fist is at this mutant reassignment center, like whatever it is,
The Rec
orphanage,
Center.
the rec center, yeah, the YMCA for mutants, and
That's what the
uh,
M is.
he is, you know, getting all agitated because of some reason we don't know, and Deadpool goes to try and calm him down. I never really understood why they're like, all right, Colossus is there, Negasonic Teenage Warhead's there, but we're gonna send the trainee in
Yeah.
to
Hey, new
to
kid.
try and diffuse this situation.
Yeah. And like, is it applied or ever really fully said about what exactly those guys were doing in respect to those kids? Outside of obviously they're being reassigned or re-educated.
Oh, I'm back. Um, there's a line in it where, Russell tells the headmaster, like, say that thing that you always say, and it was, I can't remember the line, but it was like a, hold on, I gotta find it now.
Well, I know like 90% of the jokes that Wade does throughout like any reference to that place is that it's pedophiles.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Oh
like I
yeah, he's
don't
got the
recall like anything like that ever happening. Like even said
um,
by any of the other characters except for him. So
yeah, it's all. Oh, he's like, yeah, I can get away with saying this. Yeah, I forget. It's like a Bible thing, I'm sure, or some sort of religious, you know, uh, situation. But basically, when you do something bad, I'm gonna,
yeah.
knock the sense out of it. Um, so why? There we go. I'm back. So then he's all amped up, and Deadpool tries to defuse the situation, and he's basically like gets beat up by the kid. The kid fireballs him out of the way, and in the end, he ends up just talking to the kid and being what's going on? Are these people hurting you? Are they,
Mm-hmm.
what are they doing? Um, and then he makes a bunch of good jokes, like, basically, yeah, this pedophile joke over here. It's Jared Kushner looking dude, who like literally looks exactly like Jared Kushner, which is amazing. The headmaster, and Russell's like, yeah, all of them. And this is where Deadpool makes, a callback to the first one, four or five moments where you get to choose your path kind of thing. And Deadpool chooses the only rule that one of the two rules that Colossus has for the mansion, which is under no circumstances do you kill anyone. The
Mm-hmm.
second one being label all your food in the refrigerator. And
The more important of the two, I think.
the more important, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
And so then he whips out his gun, shoots Jared Kushner looking dude, tries to shoot Headmaster, and that is when Colossus says, "No, you can't do this. We're leaving." But
Yeah, and then they get those restrained collars, like with the
yeah,
suppresses their powers.
definitely not open collar, that's for sure. um,
Which makes you
and
wonder, like, if they're in that place that's supposed to like suppress your powers, why not
why
they're
don't they just
always
wear the
wearing those
collars?
collars?
Right? And then, like, if they have these collars, I don't know. I feel like I don't understand how they work exactly. Like, is it?
I guess it just suppresses the gene, like the Cure in
Yeah,
X-Men: Last Stand.
exactly. I guess. Yeah, it could be just like as long as you're close to that thing and it's clasped together. Um, and basically now they're off to the icebox, which is, I guess, a mutant
Not a
jail.
fridge.
Yeah, not a fridge. Um, they're off to some mutant jail that everyone has the little necklaces on
Yeah,
that
the close
so
collars.
you can't yeah, the closed collars, so you can't mutate. And as as much as he doesn't want to, Deadpool is now stuck in a cell with this kid who's
Good old
incredibly
Russell.
annoying. And now Wade's cancer is back in full force, so he is struggling hard without this regeneration power
Yeah, and all
that he
Russell
has.
wants to do is like take out the big guy to like rule that place with
Yeah,
Wade.
because he's seen too many movies that
He
say,
watched
yeah,
Oz that one
yeah,
time.
you just gotta you gotta shiv the baddest guy in the yard, and
Yeah,
then you become that bad guy. um Deadpool wants none of it. He just wants to die. Like,
and
leave
it's
me
just
here.
weird. Like this kid goes from one prison to another prison, and he's like, this one's better."
Yeah, which, yeah, it doesn't make
Which
sense.
again, he's wearing a collar that's suppressing his powers, which was happening at the other
It's the
place.
exact same thing. Yeah. um and then this is where it gets wait, I can't remember when Cable comes in. Is it after this or before this? I think it's
Um,
they go to the icebox, and then we see all of Cable's kind of backstory, forward story. um and we see him picking up a bear,
yeah,
and we find out later that his wife and kid have been murdered, and he plays
by
around
future Russell, right?
by, yeah, future Russell. And we he like has a device that lets him travel back in time, and he decides to go back to this exact point in time, to the icebox, to kill young Russell so that the future doesn't happen.
Yeah, so like kill
Very
him before he would become a killer.
exactly. um so Cable breaks in, and he's got all this crazy tech. There's a couple of dubstep jokes, which, I don't know. Like, I if that joke wasn't there, I would have gone like 4 years without hearing the word dubstep. So like, I don't know. I feel like
It's so out of control right now. I'm telling you.
yeah, like the I think the dubstep joke could have been better used in the first one when it was a bit closer to dubstep actually being like around. Um, but it was fine. I like the song they choose for the fight scene. Very dubsteppy, but I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this song. I haven't heard it in forever. um, and then then we see Cable. He's got tons of bombs, tons of cool guns, and he is unable somehow to beat all of these people from the past who don't have powers,
Yeah,
who
no
um,
powers,
yeah,
no
they're
weapons.
weapons. They have nothing, and somehow he can't beat them. Uh, that's fine. Um, we also see before that there's the biggest guy in the yard line, and we see an isolated area and some loud noises, and everything. So we know who that big guy is, and
That's right. It's Toad.
that's right. Same guy that happens to be in every other movie. Um, so Wade somehow saves Russell for some reason, even though he doesn't care about him at all.
Yeah, he
And
makes a point to tell him that basically, I don't care. Go find someone else. You're better off your own. Don't like get
yeah,
close
like
to me.
leave me
And
here to die. You go do your own thing. We're not friends, but now this crazy killer from the future's here, but I'll still save you. Um,
just this one time.
just this one. Um, and this is the first time I think that he like kind of so Deadpool dies ish, and oh yeah, he like they fight, they rumble, they fall down this like mountainside outside of the icebox, and Wade falls into a like ice river situation,
Yeah,
and he ends up going into what, like a purgatory, like a limbo
yeah, something like that.
style thing. He's not dead, but he sees Vanessa sitting in like their apartment place, and she says, "You're not ready to die yet." And when he goes to see her, there's some sort of invisible barrier blocking his way to her. She's like, you're not ready." Um, and then he gets shot back into the real world, real movie world, and like he doesn't go back to the icebox. He kind of just goes back to um,
Yeah, like with his
the
buddies and stuff.
that lady's house. Is that where he goes first,
Blind Owl. Uh,
or he goes to the
I think he
Deadpool,
go.
like
Yeah, I think he goes back to like to the
the
bar
bar?
with Weasel, and that's when he wants to put together a team because at this point he
Oh yes, that's
decides.
right.
Yeah, because
Dupinder.
he thinks Vanessa's telling him he has to save the kid. He saves the kid, and then like that'll redeem him so he could die and be with
Die in
her.
peace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. So we skipped part earlier where right at the end of the first scene when he's running out to the taxi. So we have his personal taxi guy from the first movie,
Dope.
Dupinder,
Yeah.
and he's talking about how like he wants to be a contract killer now, and he wants to do all these things that Deadpool does. And Deadpool's like, what's your superpower? What trait do you have that you think makes you able to be a killer? And he goes, I've got courage. He's like, that's not a superpower. Like, that's nothing. um, and we also hear about his love interest, who his cousin or his friend is also trying to woo. Um, and then, so as a kind of stepping stone into the contract killer business, he has a job at the bar, mopping and cleaning up and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Um, and this is where Ryan Reynolds and what's his name,
T.J. Miller.
Jay Miller, who really, like, it sucks that he's severely underused in this movie because I guess they cut out a bunch of his parts in the midst
Me too.
of his scandal,
Yeah.
yeah, of all that kind of stuff. But he's got some hilarious, like pretty much everything he says is like everything that they kept from his lines. I thought was hilarious. He kind of just goes over the top when he's trying to explain stuff. Like he won't just give one example. He'll give three or four just gross escalating examples
Yeah.
of how terrible you look or how disgusting that is or whatever. I thought those were all great. That was also a throwback from the first one.
I do like how like on the write up for this movie on Wikipedia where it has his character, it is literally one line.
Oh really?
T.J. Miller as Weasel, Wilson's
Oh,
best friend and owner of a bar frequented by mercenaries.
oh really?
And like everybody else has a paragraph.
That's hilarious.
so, so yeah, they not only cut him from the movie, they cut him down there too.
Yeah. um so then they the two of them hold interviews to form a task force to go after this guy. And
It's like
this
the
is
LinkedIn joke that they throw in there too.
yeah.
LinkedIn profile page updated.
um, so then who do we get? We get uh, Zeitgeist,
Yeah, Zeitgeist
who
is one.
I forget. Is he the he spits acid? And then we have Invisible Man, which is a funny joke. They're like, is this guy even here?
Yeah,
We get Domino, who's
yeah. Domino's the
who I
one.
think's like stole the show in this movie.
If Terry Crews is Bedlam,
Yes, that's right, Terry Crews. And then we get
and
Peter.
Shatterstar is two. Was the other one,
Yes, and
and
they
Peter.
and Peter, and so they are the X Force, and they have a plan to, dive into the icebox, steal or not steal, save
Yeah,
Russell, and do all that on their way. So they're in a plane, they're about to dive down, and I missed it the first time around, but then in the second watching, there's a lot of things. So there's a lot of like newscasts about high winds and wind warnings and all this kind of stuff.
yeah.
And then as they're going up on the plane, they're like, "Ah, it's like pretty windy. Should we jump? I don't know." And then as they're jumping, it's like, "Really? Like, there's a bunch of wind here. Like, I don't think we're going to be able to control ourselves." And
It's
Deadpool's like,
fine.
"Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We got this."
And he lands
And
fine.
yeah, he lands perfectly fine. Like first,
I
and then
saw it twice now. I watched the original, then I watched the director's cut, and both times it had me laughing when he's just standing there, like just gushing at everybody coming down the parachutes. Like, oh, look at
yeah,
those like majestic animals.
yeah.
And I just, yeah, that was
And then one by one,
yeah,
they all just meet their doom. So
which I thought was great because when they showed the trailer, they really played up that like, here's his team that he's gonna have, and within like 2 minutes, this team's just
yeah, that was
gone.
it. The whole team storyline was like 5 minutes in the entire movie,
Yeah.
building them up, getting them together, and then they died. So
Classic misdirection.
yeah, um, the only one that survives is Domino, who
Yeah,
her
as we know, her power
superpower is
is
being lucky,
yeah.
which they joke about off and on, like on and on about how luck is not a superpower. Turns out it's not the
Yeah,
worst. Turns
no,
out
not
it's
at
pretty
all.
good. Yeah. So everyone else meets their doom, gets hit by trucks, and runs into electrical wires
And
and
wood chippers
wood chippers and getting
gets
acided.
yeah.
Um, Domino somehow seems to find an inflatable panda to land on.
Yeah. As one does when they're
Yeah, of
skydiving.
course. So they go and they are trying to, uh, or Cable at that point has uh, Russell. Is that?
He's still
Oh, they're still looking for him.
he's still plotting his whatever because it's during this when they're going after that I guess semi that's got Russell in it that's driving through town.
Right.
They're trying to get to that before for Cable does, and
Before
then
Cable does.
they all
And
happen to meet at that point where through Domino's good luck.
Yeah, they're able to navigate through all this stuff. She kind of just turns the wheel a certain way, and everything goes right.
But then it goes wrong because
Then
that
it goes,
semi crashes, and then we are then have Russell reunited with Wade and now his new partner, which is
who
revealed to
is
be Juggernaut.
Juggernaut? Um, I Juggernaut as a character also. I was
Yeah, I was never big on Juggernaut. I
no,
think the only time I ever enjoyed Juggernaut was when they had that redubbing all over YouTube of the Juggernaut bitch.
yeah, absolutely. That's the only
Other
time.
than that, no, I didn't care.
Um, but so Juggernaut is just a massive being with a hard head and can smash into everything. Um,
Yeah, it's even his
I
like superpower is like if he gets ahead of steam and is able to run without being interrupted, he can take you out.
exactly, but if he doesn't,
Like
like
wouldn't you
what,
just
like he
have to
can
put
still
like
get shot and stuff.
put something down to trip him and then down he goes
Yeah,
and
exactly.
done.
Um, there's one scene I really like too. It's when Deadpool and Cable are uh, just at the back of the car, the back of the truck or whatever, and Cable is just like firing shot after shot at him,
Yeah,
and Deadpool tries to recreate the thing from is it Wolverine? Is it Origins?
yeah,
X-Men Origins Wolverine, where there's a scene where Deadpool in that movie, also Ryan Reynolds, comes in and is just like slicing away bullets and deflecting them to hit other people and just like killing it with these swords. And now they're like, 5 feet away from each other. Cable is just firing round after round at Deadpool. Deadpool's doing his sword thing, and he maybe gets one of them and gets
yeah.
shot the rest of the time, and he's like, "Wow, like, ouch." I thought that was a great kind of line. It was from the trailer, and I thought it was still just as good in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like this whole scene, I didn't really do a lot for me because it just seemed like a bunch of random events that really had nothing to do with
Yeah,
each
it was
other.
like trying to find an excuse to have the second encounter of Wade and Cable.
Yeah. Um, and
And then yeah, that's when he
then
gets ripped in half by Juggernaut.
yeah, he gets ripped off by Juggernaut. Juggernaut and Russell get away, and
Yeah,
we are now back at
Blind Owls.
Blind Owl's place. We see Deadpool sitting there with baby legs, and
Yeah,
just
a callback again to his baby hand from the first one.
from the first one. And then TJ Miller has another good line in it. What is it? Oh, he's like, "Oh, you're just sitting there, shirt cocking it." I thought that was an amazing line. Like, come on, man, that's gross. I'm glad they left that in because that was one of my favorite lines in the movie. Um, and then everyone gets their Cable shows up, and now we find out his motivation to kill Russell,
Yeah,
which is that Russell grows up in the future. Russell grows up to be a killer, and he kills Cable's family. So, um, and then what's his name? Deadpool asks him, "Well, like, why did you come back at this point in time? Why wouldn't you go back a bit further and
mm,
just kill him when he was a baby?" Uh, they do a big thing about how the farther back you go, the more volatile time travel ends up being. It's harder to get back, and he only has two charges. So one to get him to a place, and one to get him back home, back to uh, his present time. And this is the what he
Back to the
decided.
Future.
Back to the Future. I didn't want to say it because I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna get sued, but uh, he chooses this time because it's around the time when he makes his first kill. So if Russell is allowed to kill for the first time, that is what sets him on the path to becoming a killer.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as Cable is able to kill him before that, all's well for everyone except for Russell.
Right.
Um, Wilson convinces him, "Hey, let's go get him. Give me some time to talk to him." Convince him to not kill the headmaster, who is the one that kind of sets him off, and that way your family doesn't die, Russell doesn't have to die. I get to be a parent type person,
Yeah.
and then I can die and be with Vanessa. That's the whole plan. Um, in the end, Cable gives him 30 seconds. He says, "You have 30 seconds to do this. If you can't do that, I'm killing him."
Plenty of
And
time.
yeah, that's more than enough time, I think. So now the new team is Cable, Colossus, and Deadpool,
And Domino.
right? Oh, and Domino, right? The lucky girl. Um, Negasonic, Teenage Warhead is nowhere to be seen at this point. No, she's there. I don't think she does anything, and Yukio end up being there too. Um, that's it. So now we go to back to the orphanage where we know Russell is trying to kill the headmaster.
Yeah.
Um, Wade has 30 seconds. He tries to talk to him and just tell him, there's better ways to go about this. You don't have to do this. Blah blah blah. All the good, you know, heartwarming stuff that people say in movies. Uh,
Yeah, but it falls flat.
Falls flat. Basically, Russell doesn't care. Um, he feels he has nobody.
Brings up what Wade said to him and did to him at the prison, and
He's been left alone too many times and doesn't feel like anyone cares about him. This is the only way, he says. So then Cable's like, all right, fuck it, and takes the shot. And Wade Wilson jumps in front of the bullet. He has the collar on.
Yeah, he throws the
at
collar
this
on.
point. So he's not able to regenerate, and he is left there to die. Russell finally sees that someone's got his back, so maybe he doesn't have to be the killer that he was going to be. So he decides not to do it. Cable wins.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Yeah, the teddy bear.
Teddy bear starts being not burnt, and he's welcome to go back to the future, to his future. Deadpool gets a super long, drawn out death scene. It just kind of keeps going. It's like the Oscars acceptance speech that just won't that just won't finish. Like they gotta play the music. And then all of a sudden we go back in time ish to the beginning of the fight again.
Yeah, and Wade dies and sees Vanessa. But then
and she says, you're still not ready. But he's able to actually, give her a kiss, and he's able to pass that barrier that he couldn't get past last time.
Mm.
But his job is not finished. He has to go back, and so he gets pushed back, and now we're back in time somehow, and we are back at the beginning of the fight scene in front of the orphanage again. But this time, Cable, this time Cable takes the skee ball token from before that he stole, and puts it in Deadpool's pocket. Somehow he has pockets in his suit, and Cable puts the coin there. The rest of the fight plays out exactly the same. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna do this. Whatever. Cable takes the shot, and Deadpool jumps in front of it. But since Cable already knows what is going to happen, the shot hits the coin, and Wade Wilson survives. And at the same time, Russell still feels like someone is there, ready to take a bullet for him and care about him. So now, at this point, everyone's alive, but Cable has used his last charge, so he can't go back to his family. But it's okay. He's gonna hang out and make sure that the world doesn't go to shit in this current timeline. And that's pretty much it, right? That's the
gist of it.
Yeah. Oh, and then Dupinder, the taxi driver, comes in to save the day ish by
running over the
headmaster. So everyone actually wins. So the headmaster still dies. So Russell's happy. Russell doesn't die and doesn't become a killer. So Cable's happy. Deadpool saves everyone, so he's happy.
Yeah, and now he has a family.
The
theme.
Colossus is happy. They got through all of this without having to kill anyone. And
Pinder's initiated.
Yes, and he finally gets to get his first kill. And then that's it. I don't know. I feel like we bagged on the movie a lot, but I still really enjoyed it. It's very much a a so-called popcorn movie, right?
Yeah.
You're there to enjoy the show. You're not there to appreciate the acting. You're not there to appreciate the plot or the action sequences. And while, some of this stuff is good, none of it is great.
I'll ask you
But
a question here about the time travel aspect of it. So, like, now Cable goes back in time from the point where his family dies. Now they're alive. So to him, he will never see them again. But
exactly.
his future self, whenever he's then born, would then be with the family.
Yes.
Or are we placing it like with other timeline movies where if you go back in time, you're not there at that point in the future?
I hate
Because
I, Back to the
like,
Future
is he like saving him, like saving his family, but also doing them disservice because he's now gone?
I just hate
Or
that.
is this then create a new timeline where they exist and he exists at the same time and everything, nothing else happened?
Nothing. Yeah. Well, so like I hate the timeline movies where like only one thing gets changed. Only one thing
Well,
gets
Back to the Future was good in that respect. Like if
exactly.
he goes
They
back
did
in
it
time, runs into his dad. His dad thinks when he convinces his dad to go after his mom, he thinks like this is an alien broke into his house, and then his futures then change because he writes a book about that encounter.
Yeah.
So they're not like money's starved or they're now like,
Exactly. Yeah, it happened, but like even that is like, all right, so they had the exact same kids at the exact same time,
and name
in
their
the
third kid
future.
Marty, not the first.
Yeah, it's so weird.
No one ever wondered why that third kid you had looks just like the guy you guys knew in high school.
Exactly. So like of all the time travel movies, Back to the Future is the best one. It's still not
Because
great
if we
in dealing with time travel.
stay within the X-Men universe, go back to Days of Future Past, when they're all dealing with the Sentinels, when they reset the timeline, that doesn't happen.
No.
But you
And
have to go. Wolverine was there, but he wasn't there. But it's because his consciousness was gone. But he was there, so he was aware all this stuff happened. But he doesn't because of his consciousness was
yeah,
back in the
so
70s.
messed up.
So I guess that's the same thing here. So is anything that happens with Cable's future self, who's now in a restored timeline with his family, know what's going on because he left at some point, or is that none of those memories are going to exist because he's now at this timeline and he's only knowing of what happened when his family died?
Right. It's such
So
a
again,
weird. Yeah, like obviously we're meant to assume that everything works out well in the end, right? So
yeah, like, they survive, but
yeah,
he
in the
knows they're
future
alive. But are
timeline,
they going to have him at
yeah,
that point, right?
in the future timeline, happily ever after for him and his family.
So then my question is, if everything's restored and he does not leave to go back in time, should he then not exist in their present? He should be back in his time.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, would that time even happen? Because every time it gets to that point, he would go back in time to make sure stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's like
And
what they
like
do
all
in
that.
the CW's Flash. He's then therefore a time remnant because that timeline no longer exists. But he
Exactly.
does
It
because he's
stops at that point.
out of his time, right?
Yeah.
So if
But
Kyle Reese does not go back in time and sleep with John Cutler's mother, then John Cutler's never born.
yeah, exactly. And then yeah, so movie's over at that point, and then we get some like pretty hilarious. I thought pretty hilarious mid credit post credit stuff, and it's
Well,
basically
start with the big one before we go to the funny ones. Because in one of the credit scenes, he goes back in time and saves Vanessa, which then completely undoes the entire movie.
exactly. Yeah. He goes and he doesn't.
So you saw this movie for no reason at all because it's moot now that he saved Vanessa.
Yeah. He saved Vanessa, but then all the other. So what happens is Negasonic Teenage Warhead and Yukio somehow find a way to either fix Cable's time travel thing or like reverse engineer it.
Yeah, and they also act like it was very like, oh, this was easy.
Yeah, like
yeah.
How is he not able to do
you're
that
able
himself?
to easily fix 2040 technology.
Yeah. So then yeah, so then Deadpool has just free reign to go back in time or travel to any part in time, and he goes back to save Vanessa first, which is great. Um, but and then he goes back and saves Peter from the X Force, but not anyone else. He's like,
Because you only need Peter.
fuck away. Um, and then where else does he go? He goes back to Origins and kills his Deadpool character.
Yeah, and loads a
Uh,
whole clip on him too.
yeah, he goes. Oh, the best one. He like kills Ryan Reynolds as he's reading the Green Lantern script. Um, and then is that it? Just those two? Oh, and then in the in the extended one, you see him go back
Yeah,
to baby Hitler, and
yeah, that one didn't
he's
really get me as much.
it didn't, and I was just like, this is a weird one, especially considering all the other ones were funny. Um, but yeah, he ends up not being able to do it. Says something about, oh, you got to meet my friend Cable. He's into killing kids. Like it was a weird way to end it.
Yeah,
But the Green Lantern one was the best one. It's like, hey, you're welcome, Canada.
yeah. And like he like reads the script, puts it down. It's like, oh, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, this is gonna be great. That was so good. Just every time um, Ryan Reynolds in movie form or in real life makes fun of Green Lantern, like he knows
Yeah,
how bad it was, and just fantastic that he's so aware of how terrible that thing he did was. But that's about it for
yeah.
this. Deadpool 2, score out of 10.
7,
And what would you have given the first one?
an 8,
Yeah, I would have went to 8 and then
7.5,
say, yeah, 7 something. Like not much worse than the first cuz
7.25.
7.498. So I
Okay,
guess we'll round up if
all
we're
right.
doing that. 7.5 for me. Basically just because only because it was,
Russell.
yeah, it was, a lot of the stuff was the same as the first one, and that
Mhm.
was a good thing. Um,
Yeah, it's
Russell
not
was
like
just terrible.
taking a Dumb and Dumber and coming back 20 years later and trying to do the same thing. And this was like, it was still relevant because the movie happened just a couple
2
of years
years,
ago.
yeah, 2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
And again, Ryan Reynolds, like, he's Deadpool. Like, that,
Yeah, he there.
he
I
it's
can't
a guy who gets the
imagine
character
anyone.
who
I can't imagine anyone else playing like he
he
plays
was
it
meant
so
to
well.
play that
That's
character, that's for
exactly.
sure.
Um, and he crushes it. So one more thing before we close off here. Now that Marvel is going to get Fox and X Men and Deadpool and everything like that, what do you think? Do you think they keep these movies as they are, and then if they decide to incorporate X Men into the MCU, or if they
I
incorporate
think you can
Deadpool, like
take like Fantastic Four, X Men, throw it all in there, and you can leave Deadpool separate, and it would still work
yeah,
as a connected thing because he's aware of everything, right? So
yeah. And then do you think that they would make another Deadpool movie that's similar to this? That like you said, he's aware of everything. So like, would he make fun of the fact that like, oh, Disney has everything, and
yeah, I think so.
Marvel has all these people, and then I was just thinking about Disney's, so they're gonna have their new streaming service that's gonna have a lot of their stuff on there, but they're the wholesome company, and then are they gonna have Logan and other R-rated movies on this streaming service that is like, I guess, primarily gonna be geared towards children, but they'll have some Star Wars movies, they'll have all the Marvel movies. Um, but then where do you throw in things like Logan and Deadpool? Do you do you throw them in just because you have the property, or do you say, well, it is ours, but maybe we'll license it to Netflix? because they can watch it wherever.
Well, maybe they just stick with Hulu because they have a partnership with Hulu, and so does Fox, and now they'll own Fox's shares, so they'll probably
Yeah,
own
that's
like
true.
half of that service now. So maybe have them up there. I
Yeah,
don't know. They'll figure something out.
yeah, they're pretty good at
Buying
figuring
everything.
out a
So,
way to make money. So
right, so Deadpool 2 is out now. VOD, digital, Blu-ray, 4K Blu-ray, and if you still have it, DVD.
really, DVD?
That's a
They
thing.
still do that? They still do that?
So, okay, yeah, Deadpool 2.
All right, Deadpool 2,
Spoiled.
spoiler cast, and oh yeah, so follow Open Caller on Facebook at facebook.com/Open Caller Podcast, and then you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Open Caller Pod. Like, subscribe, follow. I don't know what the other buzzwords
Share.
are. Share. That's the one.
Share it. Tell your
Share
friends.
and find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, anywhere else you find your podcasts. We are there. And now we're not. We're out.